Another episode of BSS Sports starts now.
This is BSS Sports.
Fires to the end zone. It's caught. It's Greg Lewis. Touchdown.
Brooks with one, lets it fly at the horn. It's gone.
Here's Crosby with a burst of speed up the middle. Gets open and scores.
A grand slam for A-Rod.
Pure genius from David Beckham.
And it's in. Thierry Henry with a bullet. Touchdown.
With Thomas Brooks, Steve Shields, and Trevor Struthers, only on 91X.
I'm with my host, Thomas Brooks.
Hello.
And Trevor Struthers.
Yeah.
Goose Gossage. I don't really know what his beef with Jose Bautista was, but if you haven't heard, he swore on air, doesn't like Jose Bautista, mainly because of the bat flip. Do you guys think the game has changed for the better or the worse?
I think it's changed for the better. I think it's more entertaining. Where Goose is coming from with the whole don't show up your opponent bit, it's just kind of, it's the old school way to think, and I think that's not obviously as entertaining. I mean, today's sports, not just baseball, is all about being more flashy. For crying out loud, I saw a dab a couple of times in the World Juniors, and we all know Cam Newton with the dab and the dancing in the NFL there. But yeah, I mean, sports in general is just more flamboyant, and it's more entertaining that way. But yeah, I mean, with Goose, it's like hit a home run and then act like you've been there before and just jog around the bases. Don't look at it. Don't look at anybody. Just keep your eyes on the base.
That's so boring.
It is.
Bat flipping is entertaining. That went viral, man. There's nothing wrong with that. I thought it was awesome.
A lot of people also made some money off of the photo of Jose doing a little bit of a bat flip. And finally, do you think that Jose Bautista is a nerd among the other people that Goose Gossage said?
A nerd? Absolutely not. This guy's like, I wish I could swear because I'd want to say a bad A because he's cool as heck.
All right, so in hockey news, we saw PK Subban injure himself. It looked really bad on the ice. He was barely able to give the thumbs up. He looks to be fine. Is it a good thing that he is out for the Habs to get a better draft pick?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, yeah, it's better for the tanking. I mean, at this point, they have no chance. They're without Subban right now. They're without Price. Who still knows kind of when Price is coming back? So yeah, overall, for getting a better draft pick, it's great for them. And I mean, the issue is, where are they going to fall into things when the lottery comes? They're still probably not going to get that high of a pick, but it definitely doesn't hurt the tanking.
Is it just me or is Max Pacioretty a terrible captain?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, when they were on the West Coast trip recently, he went from, being about a point or 2 points per game player to absolutely disappearing. So I totally get where you're coming from. I was also listening to some Habs post-game shows, and a lot of the callers that went in, they even said, we don't want Pacioretty as a captain because he's just not captain material. And I totally agree with them. But speaking of people that are, kind of disappearing at certain times, Phil Kessel was once the player to watch when you were watching the Toronto Maple Leafs. And now, with the Penguins, he's invisible. But look, I get the whole joke thing. He looked out of shape. He seems fine now. But watching him, he just doesn't really have the desire to play. And you kind of have to watch solely Phil Kessel. When he goes out on the ice, he doesn't have any defense ability in him. He's simply there to score. He's not doing it. He doesn't challenge for the puck. He just waits for somebody to get it. Do you think that Phil Kessel is ever going to be able to restore his career?
Sure, but I don't think he'll ever be a complete player per se.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He hasn't been yet to this point in his career, and nothing says that he will become that. But it's interesting, right? Because when we heard the move, we figured he'll be playing with either, Malkin or Crosby, and that's going to make him a better player. But maybe it's because in Toronto, he was always the guy, it seemed like, that got the puck in that key scoring opportunity.
In the spotlight at all times,
yeah,
basically.
And now you have Crosby, you have Malkin there in Pittsburgh, and probably some other names. Letang, even on defense with the shot that he has, the Leafs don't have a comparable to that. And so with the ability to have more shots, like different guys to shoot the puck, he's kind of fallen by the wayside, I guess.
Do you think that he misses the spotlight?
The Toronto spotlight? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Always on the bad side of the media there.
So now, thinking to junior, because we're starting to come to the OHL playoffs and virtually all junior hockey, but speaking of the OHL in particular, they've produced a lot of number one picks. Connor McDavid, Aaron Ekblad, Nail Yakupov, and for the WHL, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And now we're seeing the Swiss National League produce Austin Matthews. Arguably, the NCAA created him, and also Jack Eichel, the second pick last year in the NCAA. But this is for both of you. What league, if you're a junior player, do you want to go into if you're planning on getting into the NHL? Because it seems like OHL is the obvious choice, but I don't know.
I was always told, like, growing up and playing hockey, I like knowing people who went into semi-professional hockey and stuff, OHL is the route. Like, that's what in junior hockey, they install that in you. You're going to play this level, this level, this level, and then you're going to go into the OHL. So it's just the way people are brought up in Canada. It's like, you're going to play junior hockey in Canada.
Definitely here, that's how it's brought up, obviously. Being in Ontario, it's the local league, and maybe because of that, we have a bit of bias in it. But I think the numbers back up the OHL is the more successful league at developing players. With that being said, I feel like the competition level is higher in the OHL, and if you want to stand out a bit more, maybe it's better to go to the Quebec League or the WHL, or maybe even NCAA.
All right, so moving to basketball, you've seen two teams do kind of complete opposites this year. We've seen the Warriors and the 76ers. Now, the Warriors have almost pretty close to a 1,000% winning average. Now, obviously, it's not 1,000, but it's pretty close. And then the 76ers have about a 200 average, so they could play in the Major League Baseball, the MLB. Now, the thing that I find kind of weird about this is the 76ers, when I was watching the game, they were actually selling seats. For a team that's been pretty awful for the past couple of years, they actually are able to sell their tickets. What do you think the draw is in Philadelphia? Because we're not seeing Joel Embiid. They sold Michael Carter-Williams, who was injured recently, which I'm not a fan of. Well, I'm a fan of him, but not the fact that he got injured. But why would fans want to go to a 76ers game?
It's Philadelphia. Man, Philadelphians love their sports. The Phillies, the Flyers, and the 76ers. They are some of the most passionate sports fans in America, I think, at least.
With that being said, and it goes a lot with the passion, I feel like they're also one of the toughest on their teams. And, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was a promotion. You never know, because obviously promotions, like if you're giving away a jersey or something, can draw people. But, I mean, yeah, I feel like they're really hard on their teams, and maybe they still show up. I don't know.
So I got a question. Who's your Final Four in the NBA Finals this year? Who do you think are the two teams from the Eastern and the two teams from the Western Conference that you think are going to be duking it out in the Final Four for the NBA championship?
I guess from the West, I'll have to pick the Golden State Warriors because I feel like at this point it'd be insane not to. And especially in the playoffs, it's always hard to go against the San Antonio Spurs. I feel like obviously no upsets there, but it's just hard to go against those teams right now. And then in the East it's a little bit more interesting, and we could definitely see some lower seeds doing some damage. I'm going to go with Cleveland just because they did it last year.
Rematch.
And, I mean, maybe we could see the Raptors in there. They're only a couple games behind.
You sound hesitant, though, right? Do you believe in them?
Yeah, I do. It's just they haven't done it before. This is a franchise that isn't like Golden State, that isn't like San Antonio, that isn't like Cleveland, where they've won one playoff series, I believe is what it is. And so, yeah, I mean, that's going to be something for the franchise to try to prove beyond just this team.
For me, it's like Golden State for sure deserves to be there, but I feel like, I don't know, they've been so good that it can be one of those things where, like, you remember when New England went undefeated in football?
Well, they peaked early, definitely, for the Golden State Warriors. They definitely peaked early.
And then they get to the finals and they just blow it. I feel like that could happen again. I don't want it to because you can't hate Golden State. That rhymed, unintentional. But and then, it'd be cool to see the Raptors there. But I think Trevor's right. It might be a rematch of last season with Cleveland and Golden State. With the way these two teams are going, they seem unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. Nobody's talking about Boston. Have you guys not seen the incredible season and turnaround that Boston's had?
But this is such an inexperienced team Boston has. That's the only reason why I'm not going with Boston. They're like they're a young team with lots of inexperienced playoff players.
Okay, all right, intriguing takes. I think the Bulls are a team that you would go into this season thinking they were going to make it, and then they've progressively gotten injured, and it just seems like the Tom Thibodeau effect is really kind of coming onto the team, especially with Joakim Noah being out, so I don't even think Chicago's going to be there. But an interesting trivia fact, did you know that Hakeem Olajuwon was a Raptor, and then he retired? Did you know that?
Did you know Muggsy Bogues was a Raptor?
I didn't know that either. All right, so going to the NFL, Calvin Johnson retiring, Peyton Manning retiring, Charles Woodson retiring, Marshawn Lynch, Beast Mode retiring, Heath Miller retiring, Jared Allen retiring, among others. I could go on. But Calvin Johnson could theoretically decide, hey, I want to play again. Hey, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, are you looking for a wide receiver? It could happen. What would happen if that happened? Could you just imagine the amount of outpour of hate from everybody in the league that Calvin Johnson came back after saying I'm done and joined the Patriots? Just talking here. Could you imagine?
It would break some hearts, that's for sure.
Oh,
some
yeah.
hearts would be broken. You seem really passionate about this, by the way, Steve.
Well, it's weird to think about that. This guy's went from being the be all and the end all in Detroit and saying, you know what, I'm done, which is good because obviously your body comes first, but also to the fact that Detroit's really done nothing. They gave up Ndamukong Suh and other pieces. Matthew Stafford, he's aight, but it's basically the only way that he looked good was because Calvin Johnson caught about 88 passes a year. All right, now moving to other football news, the Canadian Football League, the team that has basically the same teams winning it over and over again. Do you know which team has won it the most?
Saskatchewan Roughriders.
That would have been my pick, too.
No, but they've actually lost the most, so good guess. It is, in fact, the Toronto Argonauts.
That was my second choice.
16 championships. And this year, they had some coverage of the CFL on Twitter, and also they had some outpour of hate on Twitter as well from people saying, you know what, TSN, you have this contract, why aren't you putting up the Combine? Now, I have the NFL Network, and they've had the Combine on when it was going on. It is the worst television experience you could possibly have.
That's for you, though, because I feel like some people could be really intrigued by this. They went to high school with some of the players that are at that Combine. That could be really interesting to some people.
Do you know how many people don't care about the CFL in the first place, let alone the Combine? This is no disrespect to the CFL, because I think it's decent. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is decent football. But if you've watched Combines, look, I get it, sure, it's cool, your buddy went there. Same with the OHL. Cool. Your buddy plays hockey. But seeing them sprint or see how many times they could bench press something, who cares? I don't get why these people are making a big deal about it. If the CFL Combine was on, would either of you watch it? And don't lie to me. Trevor, I know you're going to say yes, so Thomas, this is for you.
Probably not. You know me. I probably wouldn't watch it. But I understand why it could be interesting to someone, I guess. To a super fan.
Trevor, you gave me a look of I would actually watch that. Would you legitimately watch the CFL Combine?
I wouldn't, and I can see why you could see maybe why it'd be entertaining in very small spurts. But no, I would not be able to sit down for 20 minutes, half an hour, or even an hour and watch that.
I don't believe that at all. I've seen this guy watch TV. He watches curling, so
Oh, Trevor, you were at a curling game. Talk
Yes,
about that, because I don't know anything about curling.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon in Ottawa at the Briar. I was at the 3-4 page playoff, and Kevin Cooey won that. I actually had to leave
I
early.
already have no idea what you were talking about. So that's it for this episode of BSS Sports. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, BSS Sports. Check us out. We're archiving on YouTube, BSS Productions. We'll all catch you next week.
Bye.